Everyone, welcome to today's session. We are still on Introduction to Chemistry Concepts, and we are on Introduction Series 2. The last time we introduced what chemistry is, explain what it entails, and some of the few things to know about chemistry. And while we were on that, we realized that chemistry has to do with basic elements, atomic units. So today we decided to explore elements and atoms. We want to get the best analogy. We want to get the best understanding because from junior high school we all have an understanding of definition of what element is and what atom is, but then we need to see the clear picture of what these two means, because going forward in your high school level we need to actually understand what's going on. So let's get into the best analogy between element and atom. So element and atom is the best analogy that we are going to use. So I'm going to relate to something everybody knows very well, everybody's used to. So let's imagine a biscuit rubber, a biscuit here. So I think I have digestive biscuits here. So what we see here, yeah. So this is the biscuit, and probably, obviously, it contains the various biscuits. So these are some of them that were brought out, right? So let's see. So this biscuit inside the rubber, right? So the rubber is one thing, and the various individual biscuits, the various separate biscuits are found in this rubber, and the rubber is protecting them, or the rubber contains all these single individual. So for these biscuits, for example, if you want to eat this biscuit, you don't eat the rubber, right? We just eat the content. The content are the ones that we eat. The contents are the one that matters. But if you want to buy it, or if you want to refer to this biscuit, refer to the name or refer to the rubber to, to actually like know what kind of biscuit we are using or we are eating. So this analogy is what work for definition of what an atom is. So one thing we talked about was the biscuit rubber, and then this one, let's call them, mm, there's biscuits themselves. So biscuits themselves. Yeah, so the biscuits themselves. So in my analogy of this, see the biscuits as what we call element. I mean the biscuit rubber as the element, and the individual component inside that biscuit as atoms. So basically, you can see that element contains atoms, just like how the biscuit rubber contains the various or individual biscuits. So element contains atoms. And I talk about eating what matters. So we don't eat the rubber. So we don't use the element. The element was that it help us to refer to the biscuit. It help us to know the name. There are details on that. So an element, the element will represent the entire biscuit family as a whole. But inside this rubber, there are individual components that we eat. So the same thing applies to chemistry. Elements will give you idea about all the atoms inside it. So an element contains what? Atoms. Element contains atoms. That's why when you refer to your definition that you know from um junior high school, they say what's an element? So element is a substance. It's a substance that contains the same kind of atoms and cannot be broken down into simpler units by any known physical or chemical means. By any known physical or chemical means. So yeah, so with this analogy of biscuit rubber, so element is the biscuit rubber. So we say it's a substance that contains the same kind of atom, same kind, or we can say same type, so same kind. Remember, there's the word same. They look familiar. See the in biscuit that when they were brought out, you see that they all look familiar. They all look the same. So same round shape, the same kind. So this rubber contains the same kind. If you take another biscuit, that biscuit may contain its own kind of atoms that may not be the same as these guys. So this particular biscuit referred to is from this element. So an element is a substance that contains the same kind of atoms. So atoms are the biscuits itself, the one we eat, and cannot be broken down into broken down because definitely the rubber we don't eat the rubber. Or some of you when you are done eating the biscuits, you add the rubber. So um element is a substance that contains the same kind of atoms and cannot be broken down into simpler units by any known physical or chemical means. So we don't eat the rubber, so you can so you just use that as your it cannot be broken down, right? Now let's get to
Do not
atoms.
miss the next concepts. Why don't you subscribe to keep notified of new videos and concepts?
What's an atom? Let me just talk refer to one is the smallest unit of an element that takes part in chemical reactions and maintain the properties of that element. So atom is the smallest unit of an element, right? That takes part in chemical reactions and maintain the properties of that element. So let's how does it relate to our biscuit? So we said element is the rubber, atom is the individual biscuit. So if you want to focus on this one piece of the biscuits, we said is the smallest unit. So that's one of them. Is the smallest unit. One of the smallest units. So one, two, three, four. So one of them. So it's the smallest unit of an element. Of an element. So meaning of this kind of rubber, biscuit rubber, right? It's like it's from there. So it's the smallest unit of an element, right? It's the smallest component of this biscuit that takes part in a chemical reaction. Take part in a chemical reaction, meaning that's the one we eat in our mouth. Obviously, when we are eating, chemical reactions happen in our mouth, right? So uh, the element don't take part in chemical reaction. Get that? We don't eat the rubber, so they don't take part in chemical reaction. If you want to take part in chemical reaction, you have to go for the element. You have to go for the atoms inside the element. So you have to go for the preferable one that you want for a particular chemical reaction. So atoms are the one that take part in a chemical reaction. Elements don't take part in a chemical reaction. Element is just the rubber. It's a container that contain your atoms. So you can go to the element and the element will give you one of its atoms that you can use for your reactions. So yes, so it's a smaller unit of an element that takes part in a chemical reaction, right? and maintain the properties of that element. Maintain the property of that element means some people they can they cannot see the rubber, they can just see the biscuit and tell you that, oh, this biscuit I know it is from this, and then they will tell you the name, right? Because they when they add it, they saw that the properties or the scent or the sweetness, the taste is likened to what they know about this particular biscuit or element. So wherever this biscuit go, wherever biscuit go, whoever eats the biscuit will have that taste coming from this particular biscuit that they know. So the wherever the atoms, wherever you eat the biscuit, it maintains the property of the element. So you have to make everything complete. Atom is the smallest unit of an element that takes part in a chemical reaction, meaning that's the one we eat, and maintain the properties of that element. Maintain the property of that element is what I mean by recognizing the taste, the similarity. Yes, that's it. That's about elements and that's about atoms. So we are moving forward. We'll get to talk about isotopes and isobars and stuff. So this understanding of if you keep this understanding with me and future videos, you get to understand chemistry very very well. You relate to these components, the periodic table, atomic element, and periodicity. Those stuff you relate them to them very well. So it's very important that you get to understand what is happening here and who is who, what is what. Some people use element interchangeably with atom, but today we have cleared that out. Element is the rubber, atom is the individual biscuit inside, is each piece inside. Obviously, the atoms are not just one, there are many of them inside one biscuit rubber. Inside one biscuit rubber, there may be more than one. So we'll keep that in mind moving forward. So again, element is the rubber. So it's a substance that contains the same kind of atoms and cannot be broken down into simpler units by any known because we don't eat it. So we can break it down. There's the analogy. Atom is the one of the biscuits, right? Atom is the one of the biscuits. So atom is the smallest unit of an element that takes part in chemical reactions and maintains the properties of that element. This is about elements or its atoms. I hope by the end of the day, you all understand or get a visual understanding or clear picture of the difference between elements and atom. We'll move forward in the next video, talk about more about atom. We're going to explore more about atom. Now that we have the clear understanding, the clear difference, when we are using a term as particular place, we know what we mean. So if we are doing chemical reactions, what we are using the chemical reactions are atoms. What we are using in the chemical reactions are atoms because they are the one that take part in chemical reactions. If you want to just give a general picture of an atom or a family of an atom, we just use an element because element is the rubber. Yeah. So moving forward, I hope to see you guys in our next video so that we continue grasping and building our concepts in chemistry. So by the end of the day, our concepts are solidified. Bye for now.
Do not miss the next concepts. Why don't you subscribe to keep notified of new videos and concepts?